My focus here at the university is primarily athletics. I know a great deal of my work does focus on intercollegiate athletics, whether it's policy issues, whether the issue is Title IX, substance use, an array of NCAA issues. But I also look at different issues in professional sports. Primarily interested in minority opportunities, in front office administration, athletes and off the field issues, and this upcoming school year, and in particular the NFL, will become a focus of our work because of Commissioner Goodell's intense interest on sort of helping the development of employees who play football. So that's a little bit about my work in general, but you know, my two favorite topics, and what I've found myself focusing on since I've come here to Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, is the opportunity to look at issues of Title IX in college sports and this notion of social justice in college sports. Title IX, it's been a wonderful tool in terms of getting females involved in intercollegiate sports, and then having those opportunities to participate in sports evolve into other opportunities. But in some ways, Title IX has not served its full purpose because we still have African-American females, Hispanic females, who still do not have the same opportunities to participate in some of the sports that we take for granted. So I'm very passionate about that topic. And then this idea of social justice, you know, in college sports. And we can look at the situation here at Rutgers and our women's basketball team and Don Imus as an example of social justice in sports. The mere fact that our female student athletes had to go through that situation was a social injustice. And so, you know, using principles of different scholars like Peggy McIntosh and others sort of frame these issues to look at them, you know, so that we can engage in dialogue that's going to help us resolve the injustices and to make sure that Title IX fulfills its promise to all females of all colors. In some ways, the Office on Civil Rights and their involvement in Title IX, it needs to be funded at a higher clip. You know, when we look at the majority of the cases that go to the Office on Civil Rights with regard to Title IX, only about 1% relate to sports. So that's one thing, funding. I think the second thing that's imperative is that on the high school level, we begin to collect data. Now, we collect data on the high school level with regard to sports opportunities for males versus females. But on the high school level, we also need to collect information in terms of sports opportunities for white females, black females, Hispanic females, and Asian females, so that we make sure that not only are they participating, but they are participating in the array of sports that are available: lacrosse, field hockey, equestrian, swimming, soccer, all of those sports. So collecting data at the high school level. And then I think the third thing is just we have to talk about it. I mean, there was a time during the Bush administration where, you know, Title IX and the policies, especially the three-prong policy, was under assault. But now, I think that effort sort of discouraged people from talking about Title IX. So what we need to do is we need to have our feminist scholars, both black and white, ramp up the dialogue again. Those are the three things that I think will be essential to ensuring that Title IX continues to move forward. I mean, within the context of college sports, you know, I've written on Duke lacrosse, and I think that there are injustices there, you know, on the behalf of the Duke, you know, social injustices committed against the Duke lacrosse players. I think that there were also social injustices committed against Durham as a city. So I think that some things existed there. I'm not sure if you're familiar with, or the audience is familiar with, the Baylor situation, where Coach Dave Bliss was trying to frame players after the murder of Reginald Dennehy at the hands of one of his teammates. It was so much time elapsed before we found out the real story. I think it was an injustice that we give a coach that much power. I also believe the reality that the low number of black college coaches that we continue to have relative to the number of student athletes of color who compete in the sport of football is an injustice. But I think that I'm encouraged by the reality that we do have, you know, scholars, we have activists, and we have scholar activists who are out there trying to address these issues. You know, certainly with respect to black coaches in college football, you know, there's this issue of Title VII, and will Title VII be a remedy? with regard to the situation at Baylor, I think that, you know, the NCAA has tried to make sure that schools have more institutional control over their programs. So while there are a lot of injustices that occur in college sports, you know, and pro sports, steroids is an injustice. But, you know, they're there, and I think that, you know, in my profession, with regard to my scholarship, I have a wealth of data and a wealth of things to write about.